What if I told you that before Mickey Mouse, Disney had a completely different identity? That there was another character who was supposed to be the face of Disney, but things didn't go according to plan? Sounds crazy, right? The story of Disney is so much more than just the mouse we all know and love. There's a rich history filled with wild twists, some surprises, and a few forgotten characters who almost became Disney's first big icon. Before Mickey Mouse, Disney was experimenting with a lot of ideas that would eventually lead to one of the most successful entertainment empires in history. Let's dive into the 5 magical facts about the history of Disney that you probably didn't know, and you'll see how things almost went a very different way. 1. Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, Disney's first star. Before Mickey, there was Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, Disney's first real attempt at creating a hit animated character. Oswald wasn't just a random rabbit. He was one of the first characters to show personality in the way we now expect from animated figures. The year was 1927, and Walt Disney, along with his animator Ub Iwerks, created Oswald for Universal Studios. Oswald was charming, mischievous, and incredibly popular. But then, disaster struck. Oswald's rise to fame was impressive. The character became an immediate success and was featured in multiple films. However, what many people don't know is that Walt Disney didn't actually own the rights to Oswald. The rights belonged to Universal, the studio that had commissioned the character. At the time, Disney was working under a contract that gave Universal full control over the character. After some contract negotiations, Walt found himself in a tough situation. Universal had decided to cut ties with him and take Oswald with them. This meant Walt Disney, the man behind the creation of Oswald, no longer had control of his own character. Imagine the frustration. Oswald wasn't just any character. He was Disney's first breakout star, and losing him was a huge blow. However, it's this very loss that would spark the creation of Mickey Mouse. 2. Walt's gamble with Mickey Mouse. After losing Oswald, Walt Disney had no choice but to start over. This was the point where most people would have given up. But Walt was determined to create something that could match Oswald's charm. Enter Mickey Mouse. It wasn't smooth sailing at first though. Mickey was a character born out of desperation. Walt came up with the idea for Mickey while traveling back from a difficult meeting with Universal. The character was initially named Morty the Mouse, but was quickly changed to Mickey. At the time, Disney was a small, struggling studio trying to find its place in the world of animation. Walt's decision to create Mickey was a calculated risk. Mickey wasn't some bold new idea like Oswald had been. Instead, Mickey was a much simpler character with more universal appeal. A mouse with big ears and a goofy personality. But even with this new creation, there was still a lot of uncertainty. Would audiences like him? Would Mickey resonate with people the same way Oswald had? Mickey's first appearance in Steamboat Willie in 1928 wasn't met with instant success, but it was a huge breakthrough in animation. Steamboat Willie was the first cartoon with synchronized sound. The public hadn't seen anything like it before. Mickey's cheeky, carefree attitude resonated with audiences. And slowly but surely, he became the icon we know today. The transition from Oswald to Mickey marked a dramatic shift for Walt Disney and the company. It was no longer just about creating a successful character, it was about building a lasting legacy. But it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. Walt Disney and his team had to overcome significant obstacles in these early days of Mickey's career. While Steamboat Willie did well, the financial stability of the studio was still in question. Despite Mickey's popularity, Disney faced fierce competition from other studios like Warner Brothers and Fleischer Studios. These studios were creating their own popular characters such as Popeye and Betty Boop, and were quickly gaining traction. It was a cutthroat industry. 3. The Silly Symphonies experiment. Before Fantasia and before Mickey was truly a global icon, Walt Disney tried something completely experimental: Silly Symphonies. This was a series of animated shorts that weren't tied to a single character, but instead focused on music and creative animation. Some of these shorts featured incredible technical breakthroughs and art that had never been seen in animation before. One of the most famous of these was the Skeleton Dance, 1929. It was the first of the Silly Symphonies, and it used complex animation techniques and synchronized sound to create a memorable piece of art. Walt Disney wanted to push the boundaries of what animation could do. The and Silly Symphonies allowed him to experiment without being tied down to just one character. The Skeleton Dance was groundbreaking in multiple ways. The way it used music and animation together was revolutionary for the time. The skeletons weren't just dancing for fun. They were moving in sync with the music, creating a visual experience that enhanced the overall sound. It was a perfect example of how animation could be used not just for entertainment, but for artistic expression. Another notable example from the Silly Symphony series was the Band Concert, 1935, which featured Mickey Mouse in a more established role, but still took risks with animation and music. These experiments with music-driven animation would later evolve into Disney's grandest project yet, Fantasia. These early experimental shorts weren't just for fun. They showed that Walt Disney had a vision for animation beyond simple slapstick cartoons. He wanted to show that animation could be a form of high art, just like traditional filmmaking. Even though Mickey Mouse was already a hit by this time, Walt's willingness to push the boundaries with projects like Silly Symphonies is what set Disney apart from other studios. 4. The rise of Technicolor. Disney didn't just revolutionize animation with its characters. It also played a huge part in changing how movies were made, especially with the introduction of color. Before Disney, animation was almost always in black and white, but in 1932, Disney changed the game with Flowers and Trees, the first animated short to be created in full Technicolor. It was a huge hit and won the very first Academy Award for Best Animated Short Film. This was a turning point because color made the characters come to life in a way they never had before. Disney's use of Technicolor gave a new sense of vibrancy to their cartoons that had never been seen before in animation. In Flowers and Trees, the colors weren't just there for aesthetic value, they helped tell the story. The bright, beautiful colors enhanced the emotional tone of the short, and the audience could feel the contrast between the lush, natural world and the darker, more menacing scenes. The success of Flowers and Trees set the stage for more ambitious projects. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, 1937, became the first full-length animated feature film, and also used Technicolor, bringing the world of animation to new heights. The colors weren't just beautiful, they told a deeper story and created a more immersive experience for the viewer. This shift to color didn't just affect the animation, it helped Disney grow into the powerhouse it is today. The introduction of color allowed Disney to stand out from its competitors and also gave the studio the freedom to tell stories in a richer, more emotionally engaging way. This was just one example of how Disney was constantly innovating and pushing the limits of what animation could do. 5. The impact of Walt Disney's vision. Walt Disney was more than just an animator, he was a visionary. Disney wasn't simply trying to create cartoons, he was trying to build a whole new world of entertainment that could transport people into magical stories. Walt had an understanding of his audience that was unmatched. While other studios were focused on just making quick, cheap cartoons, Walt Disney was thinking about creating experiences. He wanted to tell stories that people could connect with on a deeper level, not just watch for entertainment. His dream came true with the opening of Disneyland in 1955, the world's first theme park designed around a fictional universe. Disneyland wasn't just about rides and attractions, it was about experiencing the magic that Disney had created in his films. Walt Disney's vision of entertainment was so ahead of its time that the impact is still being felt today. Disney now owns not just animation, but theme parks, television networks, and even space franchises. So how did it all come together? How did we go from struggling with Oswald to having Mickey Mouse become one of the world's most recognizable figures? The answer is that Walt Disney's ability to adapt, innovate, and bounce back from failure was the key to his success. Losing Oswald was devastating, but it pushed Walt to think outside the box, experiment with new ideas, and ultimately create the foundation for Disney's massive empire. The legacy of Disney didn't just come from one character, it came from Walt's relentless drive to keep moving forward no matter the setbacks. Before Mickey, Disney wasn't the entertainment giant it is today. Characters like Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, the experimental Silly Symphonies, and breakthroughs like Technicolor all played a part in shaping the company we know. But it was Walt Disney's vision and refusal to give up that led to the creation of Mickey Mouse, which set the stage for everything that followed. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Disney's history, don't forget to subscribe and check out our next video for more behind the scenes stories.